Are the Terminids being controlled by mushrooms? What are these big bug-like husks we've been seeing around more and more frequently? Could there be a connection with the giant bones we see on colder planets like Istanu? Could this mean, are we going to see a brand new big bug? Well, dear viewers, I'm Leo Fuego, and I plan to show you my findings and hopefully answer some of these questions using lore, theories, and a bit of science. So as of writing this, it is a few days after the planets that we previously liberated with the Termicide somehow became overly infested with creepy crawly scum, with Meridia being completely unsalvageable as of now. I want to address the first question I started the video with. It's not a question I've been seeing floating around, but rather one that came up very early in my time in the game. I specifically remember that there were 2 planets previously liberated that had suddenly had terminated invasions after spores being reported to have drifted to those planets. So I was wondering, how could spores make these bugs suddenly appear on a planet that never had a bug problem before? After playing on higher levels, I discovered the side objective of spore spawners. And now there were so many spores to the point that obscuring visibility. I thought nothing of it at first. I thought it was just a random side objective. Then I learned that it is only available on the Terminid planets. So this mushroom-shaped spore spawner is significant only to the bugs. I then looked closer to discover that these spores are all around bug holes when fighting the bugs, that they even call backup. They breathe out this bunch of spores. Previously, I thought the idea of bugs producing spores was crazy, because I thought there was gas, because there are some bugs in real life that release gases when killed as a signal to other bugs of danger. But if you look closer, this orange stuff they let out is a lot of little particles similar to the spores on the spore spawners, just in a different color. I was surprised to see the bugs let out spores. I thought it was odd. I've only known mushrooms to produce spores, and I don't see any mushrooms in the game. Or at least that's what I thought. Looking for mushrooms to prove my idea, or disprove it, I felt like foolish to discover there are mushrooms in nearly every type of biome in the game has to offer. If you look closely, there are these white cluster of plants that if you step on, cover the area in a white haze that looks like smoke. While these plants are actually mushrooms, they have a striking resemblance to the puffballs in real life. A white ball-shaped mushroom at an older age produces trillions of spores. But these mushrooms are found both in terminid and automaton areas. So you might say, well, wouldn't there be terminids on all planets then? Well, you'd be right, and there even has been terminids on automaton planets. Just look at this photo. What I will say is I believe there is a mushroom on the terminids are connected to is not the puffballs, but I believe they are infected with cordyceps. Yes, if that word sounds familiar, then you must have played The Last of Us, where the cordyceps have infected people to mindlessly attack people and produce spores in their environment or off its host. You can definitely see where I'm taking this. The cordyceps are a real-life mushroom that really do infect their hosts and turn them to a zombie-like puppet, typically only infecting bugs. They make their host climb to a high position so they can burst out of their head, releasing spores that then infect any other bugs that come in contact with the spores. Once I came up with this theory, the idea of bugs producing spores was not that far-fetched. As we explore the terminid planets, we can see that the common samples look just like the spores that grow out of infected bugs in real life. And where do we sometimes find these common samples? Well, they're on the corpses of terminids appearing as if they were caught in an explosion or if they were bursted in from the inside out. Of course, there are wrinkles to my theory. If bugs have to be in contact with the spores to be infected, why make bug holes? How can they even have offspring that seemingly already looks infected? Why only live bugs can call for help and not bugs that, are unalived? How are they alive at all if cordyceps should be unaliving these bugs? Well, this explains why spores drifting in space infected planets previously with no bugs, and why the spore spawners and the bug releasing spores. So far, I've been using earthly knowledge to understand an alien species of bug and an alien species of mushroom. As to defend my claim, all I can say is that it's a video game, it takes place in space. If my theory is to be true, the only thing I can say is that it's just how these things work in the world without the knowledge of Super Earth telling me otherwise. With that, I want to move on to my other question I have on the Terminids. I'm pushing these ideas out now before the devs beat me to it in the completion of the major order to turn off the Termicide. They might be revealing something huge on Meridia. For the last few weeks, we have been seeing these large husks of what looks like a bug, often stuck inside the rocks, as if they've been there for a long time. I want to say they've been there for around 100 years, if I had to guess. I say this because back in Helldivers 1, the first game, the Terminator was also a faction 100 years prior to Helldivers 2. With the help of Helldivers wiki, there are a number of bugs that had very similar designs, and I want to say I felt like the devs kind of just narrowed it down just to have like one or two variants of the same type of bug. And some of the bugs might have got reskinned for Helldivers 2. But if you look, there is one type of bug that is not on the Helldivers 1 roster, the Bile variant of Terminids. That means in Helldivers 1, you did not have Bile Titans as a big boss enemy. However, they did have another big boss that looks identical to the husk we see around on some planets, which I've been appearing more and more frequently. So I have a feeling they might be releasing a new big baddie. Yes, I believe the devs are teasing the return of the Hive Lord. It's a massive bug that burrows under the surface, creating new bug holes in its wake. It has two giant teeth-like things on the side of its face, beady little arms, and countless creepy teeth. But I feel like this reveal was obvious. I want to say, with the return of the Hive Lord, they must be bigger than they were in Helldivers 1, and these husks we see are just an old shell. Okay, as we know, there are many creatures on Earth that molt, meaning they leave their old shell to grow a new one so they can ultimately grow larger. This applies to crabs, snakes, technically, and certain bugs. And if we apply this idea to Hive Lords, then these husks, as I have been calling them, may not be dead Hive Lords, but rather their old shells before molting for a bigger body. I believe we even have some scale on just how big the Hive Lords might be now. On certain biome types, there are these planets with lots of massive bones randomly protruding out of the ground. There is this one set of bones that shares similarities with the husk of the Hive Lords we have been seeing. Looking closer, it even caught the attention of Super Earth researchers. We can see that there were excavations to dig up the bones of these massive creatures. These bones have two massive things at the side of their face. I'm not sure if they're antenna, teeth, or like an ear. It's an alien, so I can't tell. It could be anything. But as you can see, they're not too different. But it also means that these giant skeletons is not just a larger asset of the husk. So this means that it could be these two creatures may not be related. Or the Hive Lords may underwent some changes, probably even evolution into something unexpected. Recently in the Olmot sector, these planets that we previously set up, the Termicide, but now have to shut it down because not only mutations, but it made Terminids multiply to unforeseen numbers. On these planets, there have been large tremors and seemingly bottomless pits that have fallen to what all the samples right before extraction. And Meridia was suddenly deemed a colony without giving Helldivers a chance to try to liberate the planet. I have an inkling that all this is a big build-up to show that the Hive Lords are returning on Meridia. Well, the viewers, that is all I have for you today. I wanted to push this video before the major order was over, and some big reveal spoiled my video. I even want to tell you that next week I'll be doing something for the automatons, so stay tuned. And before I go, I have to say with pretty much a guarantee to ban TikTok in America, I will be forced to move to YouTube for any of my content in the future. I have my YouTube in the bio, and for those watching on YouTube, thank you for being here. And don't worry, my dear viewers, on TikTok, I will continue posting on TikTok until the ban is finalized and no more content can be made. And with that, like, comment, share, all that stuff, and I'll see you next time. And thank you for watching.